Welcome back to Ronnie's Revenant Reviews. Today I have an album and a movie to talk about, starting off with a brand new album by an up-and-coming artist from Winnipeg, Palas Har Gold, and his project Icarus as People. I have to say it's a pretty promising debut. It's not perfect, it has its stumbles, but I ended up really enjoying this album after I finished diving into the 52-minute experience. The only real issues I have with the album are just what's expected from finding your footing in music, some pitchy vocals, some choppy production, just some little spotty bits here and there. I also don't think this necessarily needed to be nearly an hour. Anem Kara kind of sums up what I don't love about this project. It feels a bit aimless and like it doesn't really rise in tension. I like the drums, it's not a bad song, it just doesn't feel complete in some way. But besides some small nitpicks, this album is very unique and creative. The atmosphere is really great. I thought from the opening track that this would be a full-on vibes-based instrumental album with classical elements, but as the album went on, it just kept getting more varied and interesting. There's some very simple guitar-heavy folk songs like the closer Learn song.
No faith that a dream can last forever.
There's the aforementioned orchestral compositions complete with piano and strings. There's also some sick synth stuff with wild futuristic chiptune sounds that start to pop up in Blue Grotto. There's some really cathartic moments of heavy distortion during climactic parts of the 10-minute epic The Haiku, and during the height of the penultimate track titled Update Owain Glyndŵr Dead Again. There's just a really varied soundscape that pulls from a lot of genres blended together while still feeling relatively cohesive. That's also due to some recurring motifs like the calming water running sound effects that pop up in a few tracks. Just a really neat album. Very solid debut, cohesive, and well put together. I like it a lot. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. So there you go. Go check out Icarus as People, available on all streaming platforms. Now, let's travel back out of Winnipeg, all the way to Japan in the year 1996. The second subject of today's episode is Picnic, directed by Shunji Iwai. It's only 72 minutes, but it does a lot with that small runtime. It's a film that follows three main characters locked up in a mental institute, as they look for comfort in such a dreary environment. To begin, this movie blew me away. It's my exact style. This is a perfect example of what I cherish in art. It's so beautiful and just perfect to me. A simple concept executed to its full potential. I love the character design and world building. This institute we're introduced to and shoved upon is so dystopian and gothic. The set design is incredible, especially during some of the opening scenes and during a particularly disturbing scene in the depths of the institution. It's a very simple story that only stretches to a few locations and a few set pieces, but each is delivered to us with the utmost care. The cinematography is very beautiful, the way the sky is captured was really amazing to see, and the framing and blocking of each shot was very intentional, and I love how certain key shots were lingered on to let it soak in our minds. The first that really stuck out to me was the shot of our protagonist Coco in her room, looking out of her caged window, a visual that ended up being very important to the film's themes. The little things are really what make up the picture. The puppet design for Mr. Sengokuya, a hallucination of one of our main characters, was great. The Raven-themed costume design for Coco, the facial expressions of the guards. It all makes up for an expertly crafted world that I could only describe as a comforting nightmare. This movie is quite grotesque and shocking at times, but it's offset by a very strange tone that walks a line between otherworldly and deeply human. The music is a key factor that sets this strange tone and aesthetic. The piano-based compositions that made up the score were incredible. It's very light and whimsical, giving the whole world a fairy tale vibe. Reminded me of Coraline. The movie is also very funny at times. The main trio was fun as hell to follow, as they clearly have unchecked mental issues, not helped by the oppressive mental institution they reside in, which leads to very stubborn and unstable mindsets and quirky ways they view life and how they choose to live theirs. I guess now's about time I try to dive into the philosophy of Picnic. I'm gonna get right into spoilers soon, and I'm also gonna be going over some sensitive topics, so proceed at your own caution. The movie follows our trusty trio as they traverse these narrow bridges and fences stretching out across the city, all starting from the Institute. We learn early on that the two boys, Tsumuji and Satoru, regularly sneak off to the top of the fence, blocking in the patients of the asylum to the outside world. They use a ladder to climb up the surrounding wall to look beyond to the cityscape, but they never go further. Coco joins them one day, and after walking along the wall for a bit, the boys abruptly stop and decide it's time to go back because they aren't permitted past this point. Coco asks why, and Satoru simply responds with circular reasoning, saying they can't go beyond that point because they just aren't allowed to. They've been successfully conditioned to follow these rules to the point where they don't even consider breaking the boundary rule, despite the fact that they could easily escape and be free of those rules. This leads me to what I drew from this story. I feel it's a story about rules, more specifically these arbitrary boxes and lines drawn around us. This is shown in the form of many of the story beats, most obviously the mental asylum these characters are caged into. We learn very quickly that this isn't a place focused on actual reform, and this disregard to helping the patients is what leads to this mental caging and stubbornness. A big theme in this movie is religion. Our characters embark on a journey to find their titular picnic spot to spend their last day on Earth, as they believe the world is ending. A belief built upon a simple misunderstanding while reading the Bible. It's played very comedically, but it's very fitting for the commentary on arbitrary thought paths. On the journey, the trio walks by a Christian school a few times, and the themes of indoctrination and instilling ideas are reflected in these moments as well. The kids do exactly as they're told. They sing the hymns, they read the passages, they go inside when they're asked, they believe what they're told. It's the same uniformity towards a chosen path that we see in our leads. I'm not trying to bash religion in general or impose anti-religion ideas onto this film. I think it's more focused on the approach to these teachings. In the end, the absolutist approach to life and religion only ends in isolation. If we are all chosen at birth to follow a specific path and follow strict rules and stay in a specific box, it only becomes harder and harder to break through those ideas and explore and connect and find a path through your own intuition and moral compass. As our heroes journey past these narrow bridges, the path starts to seemingly impossibly contort through the framing and cinematography, where suddenly one character will seem to be on a completely different path across from the rest, or in a very distinct environment away from the pack. Logically, it's because the character lagged behind and the other two walked around a bend, until the two groups seem to be split. But in the world of the movie, I think it represents the breakdown of this group through the individualistic teachings that have been instilled in them. Follow this path in this way and you'll be saved. It's an ideology that seems to lack empathy. After the group has truly lost single-file closeness, we cut to Satoru as he marches alone on this far-behind section of fencing, before we see him fall to the ground from a considerable height. We then see a complete breakdown in Satoru's physical and mental functions as he stumbles aimlessly in a field, blood spilling from his face, rambling to himself about climbing back to the wall, falling down to the wall. We see him reenact his fall as he rambles on. It seems he could only comprehend being on the wall and being off the wall, a fully binary mindset. He then collapses in that field, seemingly dying, and he's never brought up again. We later rejoin Tsumuji as he breaks down in his section of the wall, as rain starts pouring in. This is when Coco finally catches back up to him, and they share a dialogue about their past. And we finally learn Tsumuji's backstory and abuse at the hands of this teacher, Mr. Sengokuya, who he's been having hallucinations about throughout the movie, which is tragically far from rare in Tsumuji's life, as he's been shown to also fall victim to abuse and violation by a nurse in the very institute that's supposed to help him. Coco then reveals how she ended up in the asylum in the first place, as she details how she killed her identical twin after a childhood full of arguments, of who between them is the copy, who is the fake. Again, this very binary worldview. One has to be correct, one has to be wrong. No room for coexistence. They bond over their traumas and share a warm embrace and kiss. The first time we get a sense that any two characters are truly making an attempt to connect and set aside the individual path. There's a strong sense of connection and comfort in this scene, but you can't help but to feel the isolation surrounding this moment. Severe trauma and abuse is often hidden and buried away, never to be discussed and never brought up by society. There is no coping or therapy given to these damaged people by the system they've grown up under, only more abuse and subsequently more hiding and isolation. They continue on together before reaching the final picnic spot on a floating lighthouse structure far from home. This is where our characters meet their inevitable end, where they expect the world to end. Sumuji shoots at the sun in an attempt to explode it. I hadn't explained this earlier, but when the gang first reads the Bible and tries to figure out when the world was going to end, Coco states that the world will end when she dies, that her parents are God and she is a sort of Jesus figure who would bring the apocalypse. After the sun inevitably fails to explode, Coco believes the only option she has left to save Sumuji is to shoot herself in the head and end the world. Black feathers fly out into the air as she collapses in Sumuji's arms. The movie concludes without a biblical ending of the world, but with the natural conclusion to these societal chokeholds. Isolating roads that, at the end of the day, only teach you how to follow a random set of rules. Believe this, walk this path, live like this, die like this. Despite the bonding and comfort found during the last moments of our leading couple, all roads eventually lead to a tragic and thought-provoking end. This movie left me speechless for a solid minute before I inevitably started spilling my feelings into this review. It's a truly incredible piece of art, and one that I will be thinking about for a long time. It feels a bit hasty, but I'm giving Picnic by Shunji Iwai a 10 out of 10. That's all I have for you this week. Check out Review Ronny on YouTube and Instagram for info and archive on the show. And before I let you listeners go, it's time for Ronny's Joke of the Week. If they wanted to really capitalize on the American movie market, they should have called this movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. See you next time on Ronny's Roadwork Reviews.
Hey, Ronny. Ronny?
Good reviews?
Fabulous reviews.
This is Ronny. Make it good.
I suppose Ronny could have been a
Reviewer.
It's Ronny, all right.
Ronny?
Reviews.
Fabulous reviews.
And this is the best review we got.